here, and welcome back to the channel. Glad to have you guys back again. So the last little while I've been exploring some of the slightly more obscure Seiko offerings, and have actually added two to the collection over the last month or two. The first watch that we're going to be taking a look at is a collaboration with Nano Universe. They are a Japanese fashion company. They've actually collaborated on a few different pretty cool watches. I'm going to just leave the reference below. I'm not sure of it off the top of my head. The second watch that we're going to be taking a look at is the reissue of the 1980s Seiko Bishop. This was made famous by being worn by Bishop, the character in the Aliens movie, and it's just a funky little watch. So let's spin the camera around. We'll start off with the Nano Universe. So I've been looking to add a black PVD watch to my collection for quite a while now, and a friend of mine in the area here had this, and when I saw it, I just had to have it. I just loved the all black, and there's something about the font of the numerals that just looks so cool to me. The packaging here is pretty similar to other Seikos. This one is branded with the Nano Universe. You can see here on the top of the box. Other than that, it's pretty similar to the typical JDM models. As far as the watch itself goes, the watch comes in here at 42 millimeters wide. We have a lug-to-lug of 49 millimeters. The case is just a little over 12 millimeters thick, and we have a lug width of 20 millimeters. The water resistance is 100 meters, and the watch is housing the 4R35 movement, which you can see here is both hacking and hand winding. The winding action is actually really nice on this watch, and the crown is very easy to grip, although I should point out it is not a screw-down crown. The dial is a glossy black with Seiko as well as the minute markers printed nice and crisply in silver. The rest of the print work is in white with automatic 23 joules at 6 o'clock, and below that we have the date window. Now for me, on black dialed watches, I usually prefer a black date wheel, but in this case it adds symmetry and matches nicely with the hour markers at the 3 and 9 o'clock. The syringe style hands I find go perfectly with this watch. I also really like the second hand, which I've seen before. I believe it's been used on the Sarb and a couple of other Seikos. Like I mentioned before, I love the font that they've chosen for the hour markers, and they, along with the hour and minute hand, are applied with lume, and I'll pop a shot of that up here right now. Alright guys, so we've got some really great lume here. I always have loved loomed numerals like this. This is pretty close to Seiko diver level lume here. It does fade a little bit quicker than some of my Seiko divers, but I'm really happy with it. So I don't have a ton of experience when it comes to PVD coated watches, but the PVD coating on the case seems to be pretty well done. The top of the case and the bezel here is brushed, while the rest of the case on the sides and bottom has a nice polish. If we flip the watch over, we have a display screw down case back, kind of, and the reason I say kind of is the glass here is tinted such a dark tint it's almost impossible to see the movement. You can kind of catch a glimpse of it there. The case back is also branded with Nano Universe, as well as we have the marking for the limited edition 457 of 500 pieces here. The bracelet on this watch is where things go south a bit. The finish in design is nice, but we have hollow end links and that typical Seiko clasp for watches, for Seikos at this price point. It's a quick fix with a replacement strap, and this thing actually works really good with quite a few combinations I've tried. So let me actually pop it on wrist here for a second for you guys. Alright guys, so on wrist, to me this thing looks just awesome, with the only major downfall being the bracelet. If you guys search the Seiko and Nano Universe collaborations, they've actually made quite a few watches together. They've even collaborated on a reissue of the Seiko Steve Jobs made famous for wearing, which I really like the look of and would love to have one on the channel at some point in time. Overall, great watch though, so let's move on and check out the Seiko Bishop. So the Bishop comes in pretty standard Seiko packaging. The color is a little bit different on the box here, so I'm not going to bore you guys with that. The watch itself is a Jujero design. It's limited to 2,500 pieces, which really isn't that limited. There's a few variations of this though, with some being limited to as little as 200 pieces. Again, this is a remake of the watch the character Bishop wore in the Aliens movie. His was red and black, which you can find a similar remake if you look up the reference number SCVE035. The watch has a really cool PVD coating. It's kind of a grayish brown. Comes in at a case width of 41 millimeters. We have a lug to lug of 44 millimeters. The lug opening is 18 millimeters, and the thickness is a pretty slim 11 millimeters. The water resistance is 100 meters, and the watch is housing the relatively new quartz movement, the 7T12. The dial is a combination of gray and black, with the bottom portion of the dial being cut out where we have the subdials given it some nice depth. I'll fire up the chronograph here and just give you a rundown of the functions of the subdial. So at 3 o'clock we have a 24-hour clock as well as the date window. 6 o'clock we have the minute counter for the chronograph function, and at 9 is the running seconds. Just love the green color on the hands and markers. It's super easy to read, although I will say at nighttime you're going to have some problems. There is absolutely no lume on this watch at all. Let me just stop the chronograph here. The chaptering adds another layer to the watch, has a nice angle that transitions the dial smoothly to the bezel. The bezel is a bi-directional timing bezel with no clicks. Very easy to grip and turn with this coin edge, and it has a smooth feel with just the right amount of resistance. Not 100%, but I believe it has an aluminum insert. The case has such a unique futuristic design that really gives this watch its personality. The finish works very well done. I like how the lugs just shoot straight out if you're looking at the side profile. I also really like the contrast between the black pushers and the case. If we flip the watch upside down, you'll see that we have a pretty simple snap-down case back. It says Jujero Designs and is limited to 1729 of 2500. So like the case design, the bracelet really adds to the personality of this watch. It's such a unique look. The one problem with it is it's pretty cheaply made. You'll see here that the links are all fold over links. We have hollow end links, and again the pretty typical Seiko clasp. I did put this on a NATO, but I will warn you guys that it's a little bit tricky. I could not fit a NATO between the spring bar and the case. I had to take the spring bar out and actually put the NATO on with my spring bar tool. Looked really cool on a gray NATO, but I just like it. Even though the quality isn't the greatest, I just prefer it on this bracelet, and that's the way I've been wearing it for the most part. And on wrist, you don't notice it as much, the lower quality links there. So let me actually pop it on wrist for a second for you guys. So for me, and I'm sure same goes for a lot of other people that might be interested in this watch, this is not something I'm going to be wearing every day of the week or anything. It's fun sometimes just to mix things up a little bit, and for me this actually brings back quite a bit of memories. I don't know if you guys remember the Bishop knife scene where he's sort of stabbing between the guy's fingers, but I always used to try that on my little brother with a pencil, usually unsuccessfully, and anyways, it just brings back good memories. It's a fun little watch to throw on every once in a while. So that's going to be it, guys. Let's head back outside. We'll wrap up today's video. Alright guys, so that's going to be it. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I just love checking out these Seikos. Their catalog is almost endless, it seems, especially once you start looking into different collaborations, limited editions, and I definitely plan on having more on the channel in the future. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.